How you doing, guys? In this video, I want to tell you about GitHub, okay? And instead of me giving you a generic definition of what GitHub is, I would just like to speak from my perspective as a front-end developer or aspiring front-end developer because I'm currently still on my coding bootcamp and I think I've got a month left, so I've got quite a lot of coding done in the last 3 months. So, but one of the things that I've actually enjoyed doing as a front end developer is using Git and GitHub. Okay, and GitHub, from my perspective, okay, instead of giving you a generic definition, from my perspective, I'm going to tell you what GitHub is. Okay, so GitHub is a platform. It's a it's a web based platform that developers, mostly developers, use to store their project. Essentially, that's what it means. Okay, no need to complicate it. Developers use GitHub is a web platform, like I said. They store their project whenever they work on their computers, right? On their personal computers, which is what they call local machine. Okay, you're working locally on your own personal computer. You have a personal computer, I have a personal computer. When they work on their personal computer, whatever project they're working on, they push that code, that project, they push it using Git, but I'll talk about that in a bit. They push that project to GitHub. GitHub, because it's web based, like I said, is the remote server. Think of it as you're working on your local machine on your in your home or wherever you are in the world. That's the local machine. That's where you store your project locally. And then once you make a change locally on your local machine, you then developers push it to the remote server. The remote server is on GitHub. That's essentially what GitHub is. That's why they call GitHub a version control or, or application. Okay, why they call it a version control application is because when you're making so many changes, right? Okay, imagine this. Imagine you work for an agency and you're working on a business a website or a mobile app for a business, right? There might be 5, 10, 50 people 50 depending on how big the project is. There might be a lot of developers and DevOps developers and backend developers and all kinds of people, even copywriters and brand strategists, putting this project together. Okay. And then when you're building the application for this client, imagine there's so many people working on, and there's 10 people in Nigeria, and there's 5 people in the UK, and there's, you know, 3 people in America, but you're still working on this one project, and everyone will have their own different version because they have their own task, right? They have the front end team is working on the front end, the design, the what typography should be put on the website, and what images should we use. So the front end team have their own code base, their own part of the project. Then the back end team also have their own part of the same project, right? So that's one project. Each team can make changes and can update the changes on that one project by pushing the things that they've updated on their local machine, the code that they've changed. Maybe the clients came back and said, "Hey, we don't like this menu on the website that you've showed us. Change this menu, change this header, change this banner design or whatever." When they do all that locally on their own machine, they then push it to the remote server, and that is what GitHub is for. And that is how many developers and coders and designers or whatever can work on one project but push it locally and then when it gets pushed to GitHub, then there's always one or two people, parts of the team, that will look at the changes that has been made, right, on GitHub before deciding to merge the files together on GitHub after the changes have been made. Okay, so have that mindset of what GitHub is. Okay, that's essentially what GitHub is for. It's not complicated. Okay, imagine if there wasn't a version control or system like GitHub. You would have a file, right? I would have my own file of this one project. You would have your own changes that you've made. I wouldn't. There was no way for me to know about the changes that you've made, right? Maybe there's another developer that's working on the same project in America. They would have their own changes, and for us to then try and get together, like, hey, you probably have to call me and message me. Hey, what did you do last night? What did you touch? What did you change? That will be very, very hectic, and you probably won't be able to get a lot of things done. But because of GitHub being a version control system, you're able to see the changes that someone else has made. Okay, you're able to communicate, and you can communicate through Slack and Discord and WhatsApp group or whatever. And then once you push the changes to GitHub, before they merge the changes that you make on your local computer, before they merge that into the main file, they go through the process. They look at everything that has been changed, and then they agree that, okay, this is good, this is good. They even leave a comment on GitHub that these changes will help us, and okay, that should go into the final project. Okay, that's essentially what GitHub is for. So enough of me talking. Let me actually show you what I, as a front end developer, I have done. Because I started my GitHub just 2 months ago. So let me show you what I've done with my GitHub. Like I said, I'm still in my coding bootcamp, but I've got a lot of coding done. So I'm gonna go into my GitHub, and I'm gonna show you exactly what the files look like on GitHub. So let me show you my screen right now. So guys, as you can see, this is my this is what GitHub is. This is what it looks like. As this is me, and this on GitHub there are what they call repositories, and these repositories, or sometimes they call it repo, they're basically project. Just think of this as project. This is a project. This is a project. This is a project. This everything here is a project. And if I go into each one, let me go into this one that I'm actually using. This is a project that I created by myself because I'm using it to learn JavaScript. Like I said, guys, I'm still in my coding bootcamp, but one of the most challenging things that I've faced in my bootcamp is learning JavaScript. So after my classes in the coding bootcamp that I'm in, I created this repo called JavaScript Practice just to teach myself how to learn JavaScript. So this is what a repo, basically a project, looks like on GitHub. Okay, this is what a sample project looks like, and these are images and the many files that I've uploaded into this repo. But one of the main files that your repo on GitHub has to contain is the README file. And the README file, basically, how you can tell is it's the first file that will be on your repository. Okay, this is what the project information will contain. Okay, a README file is essential in every repository. Okay, and as you can see, this file contains the header of the project so that anyone who lands on my repo can basically read this quickly read this README file and know about everything that this project is about before they even decide to go into the individual codes, as you can see. So the README file contains an header, subheadings, paragraphs like this, and even images like this. Okay, and as you can see, this is a subheading that says, um, the goal basically is for me to learn how to be a JavaScript developer, and the goal is October 1st. So yeah, in less than a month, I have to become a better JavaScript developer. So yeah, that's exactly what a GitHub is about. So I hope you find this video helpful, and if you have, please make sure to like the video and